Many of us live with a lot of pain, unprocessed pain in our bodies. And today I want to talk about the emotion of sadness in particular. This can be a really challenging emotion for many of us to connect to and process in a way that serves us and is healthy. So sadness is emotion for some of you that you might be really familiar with, and you might feel like there's a really big problem when you feel sad. That is one of the common things that we take from sadness. When we feel sad, there's a problem, something's wrong. And what makes it even worse is if you feel sadness and you don't know why you feel sad. So we have a belief in our culture that sadness means there's a problem. And so if your sadness is showing up and you don't know why you're sad, you might start to take on some beliefs like there's something wrong with me, I'm crazy. Sadness is a very challenging emotion for many of us for a variety of reasons. And I'm going to speak a bit from my own experience and from my experience of working with my clients. And I'm going to talk today about why we're so afraid of sadness, what sadness can teach us, and some ways to process and clear out the sadness that we carry in our bodies. So in the video that I did about anger, I spoke a bit about how we carry a lot of emotions in our body through our lives. That emotion can be stored as energy in the body. And so one of the ways I like to look at emotions, specifically sadness, is that it's just energy clearing from the body. And when you think about sadness, the way that it shows up in the body, it shows up as tears, tears coming down your face. So through the element of water, it can show up through sobbing, so like sound coming out of your throat. And it can show up through movement. So when you're sobbing, a lot of times, the chest will heave and it will move. And so that to me are all ways that the body is clearing this energy. And what we tend to do is stuff it down. Oftentimes we hold back our emotion when we're with other people because other people get really uncomfortable being with our emotion. And many of us who are not used to being with emotion have a really hard time being with other people when they're being emotional. So this is why a lot of times when someone's crying, we run over and we hug them, and we, sometimes it comes from a really good place of wanting to comfort people, but a lot of times it really comes from our own discomfort of witnessing somebody else's pain. And that to me is a representation of how uncomfortable we actually feel processing and being with our own pain. Sadness is one of the emotions that feels very scary to be with because for many of us, the sadness is really deep, very, very deep and very, very big. So I know for myself, I went through a blindsiding breakup that ended up being like a portal that opened me up to all of the grief in my life. And I laid down and did a breathwork session and had access to some of these deeper parts of that sadness and felt completely terrified. So it was as if my rational mind completely shut off and I was just face to face with the fear of feeling all of that sadness. And I was afraid because it literally felt like that sadness would swallow me whole. It would just completely consume me. And so I believed in that moment, I felt like I was gonna die. Like I was afraid for my life in that moment. So the reality is for a lot of us, facing into some of these emotions opens up a bigger pocket where a lot of unprocessed emotion lives that can be incredibly large and incredibly scary, especially because we don't really know what to do with it. So when we believe that there's a problem when we're crying, there's a problem when we feel sad, then we think that there's something that we need to fix. And this is a common belief that I experienced throughout my life was anytime I felt sad, it was what's wrong, let's figure it out, let's fix it. And for many of us who are sensitive people and who feel very, very deeply, we just need to let the sadness come up and come out. And oftentimes through processing our sadness, we will gain access to so much wisdom through that energy clearing through us. It will teach us what we're sad about. It will teach us what the sadness is connected to. Sometimes the sadness is connected to very specific energetic experiences in our lives. Sometimes we don't really know what it's connected to, and it just needs to be cleared. The better you can get on letting it come through you and not making a problem out of it, the easier it becomes to be an emotional being. And we are all emotional creatures. Some of us are more sensitive than others, and some people are really good at hiding their emotions from themselves. And you might notice that once you really let out a lot of your sadness, you feel better, you feel cleansed, you feel lighter. One of the recommendations that I have is to really make sure you are being very, very kind and gentle to yourself as you feel sadness, and learn to mother yourself. So when you feel sadness, you can hold yourself, you can put your hands on your heart. You can tell yourself, you can stand in the mirror and look into your own eyes and say, I love you. It's okay. I'm here. It's all going to be okay. So treating yourself the way that a mother would treat a child in our sadness is incredibly healing, and it's part of self-soothing, learning how to really nurture ourselves and heal ourselves on our own. My favorite tool for working with sadness is breathwork. It's my primary healing tool. It's the practice that I facilitate with others. And I've created a free guided breathwork meditation. If you're new to this work, you can click the link below. So I hope this video has been somewhat helpful for you. Learning to process our sadness can take some time, so be very patient with yourself through the process. I highly recommend beginning to work with breath work on an ongoing basis so you can connect to your emotion more and help it move through you. If this video has served you in any way, it would mean a lot to me if you like it and subscribe to my channel. I have created another video on working with anger. So if you feel a lot of anger, I highly suggest watching that video. If you feel very disconnected from your anger, I suggest watching the video. Anger is a human emotion, and we all really should be feeling it and working with it. If you're not connected to it, it's still a part of you. It's just not something that you're clearing from your body and working with actively. Anger and sadness are emotions that tend to layer in the body and contribute to depression. So if you're someone who experiences depression, I'm going to be making a video about depression coming up soon, so be sure to subscribe to this channel and make sure you get notifications when it comes out. Thank you so much for being with me. I hope this served you in some way, and hope to see you next time.